shots like 3 years. She's mine. Wonder if she'll be mine. She walked past like praise rewind. To see that as more time. I got the soul.
Hey guys, so if you hear background noise, that's because I'm recording this outside of my house. But a little birdie told me that the SVOU viability rankings were updated after the end of the Smoke On Champion League. There were of course some expected and unexpected changes, so today we're going to be covering them. Also, pray that Gliscor gets out of Walmart before the holidays. He needs our support. Thank you. Now let's get back to the video. Starting things off, we have Pecharunt rising from A to A+ tier. I don't know why this dropped in the first place, because Pecharunt is the best physical wall in the tier. The best Wellspring check in the meta as well, and it's also just a fantastic pivot. But the driving force for its rise back into A+ is because Nasty Plot resurfaced during the Smoke On Champion League. People kind of forgot this set existed for a while, and now it's been stealing games. Outside of King Gambit, Restock, Tangle, and some fringe checks, most teams don't really have a check to it. Pecharunt's typing is also useful for Teal Pawn and Rillaboom, which have seen a spike in popularity. So yeah, up next, Hatterini, who rose from A- to A tier. Honestly, this thing is A+ material. 90% of the teams I've built had a hat on it. It's goated. You know what they say, if the hat fits, wear it. Cause Hatterene fits everywhere. You got the classic calm mindset that still works nicely into certain team structures to this day. Eject button on weather teams, assault vest, even like offensive trick room. But the main set right now is Pain Split, giving it the longevity it longed for. This set helped Hatterene find a place on balanced teams, which led way to some incredibly successful builds within the last couple months. Like, the most notable one I've used a lot was Hat, Tornadus, and Kiram. Because AV Torn and Kiram are absolutely cracked, but they hate rocks, so you just slap a Hatterini on it, and as well as a Tusk, and you got no problems. Its sheer presence forces a 50-50 with the opponent's hazard setter, and sometimes it's in Hat's favor, since some hazard setters outright lose to it, like Tinglu, Gliscor, or Garganical. Psychic Noise and Nuzzle are perfect for accumulating progress. Stall's game plan is hazards and status, and if they can't initiate that game plan, then Stall gets cooked. Stall also gets cooked royally by Psychic Noise and is often forced to terrestrialize their Blissey. So you can imagine how hard Hatterene destroys Stall. Boom, another Stall breaker. And people said that the meta would become fat without Roaring Moon. Anyways, I talked enough about this Pokemon. Let's give the spotlight to our 5 rises to A-. We got Surledge, Glamora, Heatran, Ogerpon of the Teal Mask variety, and Rillaboom. Surledge has been going crazy lately. I sort of thought it was going to be a fad and drop to UBL in 3 months, but it's only gotten better. Surledge has been recognized as one of the scariest wall breakers on offense with the development of Life Orb sets, which OHKOs nearly the entire tier after Terra and a Swords Dance boost. I've even seen it 1v1 Garganical without close combat. This one is truly cracked. It takes full advantage of screens, webs, and terrain for even more consistent setup opportunities, and Surledge is already good at finding those with its Fire Ghost typing. One important thing is that Surledge gives Hyper Offense that crucial Will-O-Wisp switch-in that was missing since Gouging Fire was banned. Speaking of Hyper Offense, Glamora has and always will be a staple on offense. A lot of great offenses have been built with Glamora. specifically the Meteor Beam set to potentially break a hole or two. Vert's iconic screens team comes to mind. Yeah, that team is broken. Glimmora is also a semi-spinner on offense because Mortal Spin inflicts poison and also deletes hazards. It conditions certain plays that you could exploit, and it 1v1s many meta-relevant threats like Surledge, Pecharunt, Cinderace, Zapdos, Moltres, Torn, Clef, the whole 9 yards. As I said in the October tier shift video, Heatran is a fantastic stealth rock setter because it makes our hazard removal options second guess themselves, especially Hatterene and Corviknight. Heatran can also force progress in other ways, as long as the opponent isn't rocking an Alomomola. Air Balloon is also clutch because people love spamming Surledge, so if it gets popped, then you have a full-on check to non-CC variants. My only problem with Heatran is that it's a steel type that gets instantly evaporated by Kyurem, so it's awkward to fit over some of the other steel types, but if you can, then it's gonna pay off with Heatran's amazing qualities. Teal Mask Ogerpon is one of the most underrated Pokemon in the tier, and I'm glad that it's getting the respect it deserves. Turns out, Tealpon has more set variety than just being a boots pivot. Choice Band is really scary, especially if your grass resists get chipped down. It forces switch-ins and creates vortexes with other strong mons, like Specs Darkrai. Swords Dance is devilish. I ended up winning a tour game with it. The big reason for its rise is because of the combination of the speed boost from Terra and Encore. It matches up very well into offense, especially with Encore shutting down all those cheesy setup sweepers. I hope it makes it into OU in the next tier shift. And Rillaboom, who rose 2 whole sub-ranks to A- tier. It is not only a fantastic support Pokemon with priority, but the recent development of Life Orb Swords Dance sets have made it a prominent wall breaker. Kind of funny how good Life Orb Swords Dance sweepers are this gen, considering all the hazards flying around. Honestly, Rillaboom was the one that helped revive the usage of Life Orb, since the terrain can offset the recoil for Pokemon like Zamazenta, who become scary as shit with some kind of boost in its damage output. But yeah, Rillaboom is simple. Click Swords Dance, maybe pop a Terra to one-tap the birds, maybe channel your inner horse and one-shot Galarian Weezing after a boost. You know what I'm talking about. Even if you're just using Rillaboom for grassy terrain support, terrain enables some absolutely degenerate shit like Grassy Seed Gholdengo. After it terrestrializes, almost nothing is killing that thing. Some people even run terrain and screens, just full-on cheese maxing. Next we have Latios, Tyranitar, and Galarian Moltres, who have risen to B+ tier. Latios is a bit of a surprise since hat and gold usage is high, but it's been popping up recently on the ladder and during SCL. Not just Calm Mind, but also Joy Scarf. Latios doesn't like Hatterene, but Hatterene also doesn't like to eat a trick, you know? Scarf Latios provides some nifty roll compression, speed control, a ground immune, spikes immune. It can also ruin a plethora of Pokemon with Trick. And Latios is still tough to switch into, like Draco and Luster Purge or Psychic Noise. Like, a lot of teams don't have good switch-ins to it. Like, even Corviknight is taking like 30% and it's not going to be able to recover that chip buff. Calm Mind is still great at breaking balance. Not as consistent these days because Hatterene and AV Torn pulled up on those team structures, but you can sometimes just win on Team Preview. Now we could talk about Tyranitar. I've already acknowledged its greatness in this video, but if you for some reason are allergic to good Pokemon, I'll just give a TLDR. Great progress maker, checks Kyurem and other special threats. Knockoff plus Sand wears down threats quickly. Choice Band has no switch-ins, and Sand beats offense, which is all over the place. Even if the meta goes into a bulkier direction, Tyranitar will remain relevant as a wall breaker. It's got even more usage this week, so I know part of it is because of the bot, but there's definitely a lot of legitimate usage for Tyranitar, so keep it up, guys. I used to be a Goltris hater until I loaded up with vert screens and swept people on the ladder of it. It's crazy how consistent this thing is. Goltris resists Sucker Punch and Grassy Glide, which for some teams are their main source of revenge killing sweepers. It also trades very nicely into Tangle with Taunt, opening up Pokemon like Raging Bull and Surulege. It's also a Ghost Resist on screens that isn't Kingambit, so your team doesn't get 6-0'd by Specstragapult. Next we have 2 rises to B tier, B for Blaziken and Clodsire. Blaziken is cool. It has a similar game plan to Surulege, but there's a couple things that help it stick out. It naturally accumulates speed with its ability, and it resists Dark while being immune to Will-O-Wisp. So not only is it not instantly dying to Kingambit, but it can sit up in front of Cinderace and Darkrai, which are very common entry points. Clodsire has always been underrated. There's so many things that Clodsire just hard walls, things that would be able to power through Blissey. Nasty Plot Pecharunt can power through Blissey with the Toxic from Malignant Chain, but not Clodsire. It also blocks Volt Switch, so you don't have to risk taking like 45% from Zapdos Hurricane with your Gliscor. It is passive, but there's matchups that Clodsire can just click buttons against. Hyper Offense isn't going to be running Gliscor and Corviknight. Well, okay, maybe Gliscor, but Corviknight isn't an HO Mon unless you're in the 1400s. Going from B- to C+, it's Cresselia.
Hey, wait a minute.
Going from C+ to B-, it's Cresselia. There are a couple reasons for its rise. Along with its niche on Trick Room, Cresselia has also recently inserted itself into the Sun meta as an alternative to Hatterene. It functions almost exactly like it, except it's bulkier and is a ground immune. Earthquake and Headlong Rush are difficult moves for Sun to switch into. It usually has to trade HP with like Walking Wake or use Slitherwing, which not every Sun team can afford to run. So Cress offers that next level of flexibility. It's also, of course, a Trick Room staple, and MRH's ladder run to get qualified for OLT belongs in a history museum because it's genuinely impressive. Going from C- to C tier, we have Overquill and Quagsire. I don't know why it rose. There wasn't any notable showings of Rain these past few months, and the one time Rain did get attention, it was because of Toxicroak. More on that later. But Overquill does things. It clicks Swords Dance, it resists Grassy Glide and Sucker Punch, which were pretty much the reasons it was ever ranked in the VR to begin with. I also don't get this one because a lot of sweepers are strong enough to flat out 2-shot or 3-hit KO Quagsire. Life Warp Surulege, for example, 2-hit KOs it with Poltergeist, and a single leaf from Rillaboom's shoulder just kills Quagsire. I guess it's because it roll compresses unaware and hazards, but I don't know. I am proud to announce that we have 5 new additions to the Viability Rankings. Say hello to Zarude, Alcremie, Incineroar, Toxicroak, and Umbreon. I'll start with Zarude since it rose all the way to C rank. Zarude had a tiny bit of usage during OLT. Its niche is as a stall breaker with bulk up plus knockoff plus jungle healing to let it stay alive and heal status. I've seen Trailblaze once with Terra Poison, which was the popular set in UU before it was banned. So maybe people are trying to experiment with it since, hey, it's UUBL now. Can't be that bad, right? ignoring the fact Staraptor is crying in the corner in Gen 4 to 7 UUBL. Separation won OLT, and 10% of that effort came from Alcremie. Its dollar store Hatterene, but it has instant recovery and can make use of Double Dance with Acid Armor. Incineroar! I don't know, it's cool. Fire Dark is really good into Gambit, Gold, Cinderace, Wisp, Darkrai, Rillaboom, and Surledge. It can also act as a slow pivot with Knockoff and Wisp. Toxicroak has gotten attention because of Pingacross's ladder run with it. Toxicroak checks some meta-relevant threats that Rain struggles with, like Wellspring, and it has a neat set of utility options like Knockoff, Toxic, even Encore, apparently. And then Umbreon. While it is passive, it does blanket check some notable offensive threats, all while passing wishes. Shoutouts to Auburn Hills for using the same team for 3 years and making it work. Okay, so I moved locations and we're gonna move on to talking about the drops. Starting with Tinglu. It has been demoted from S to S-. Tinglu is still top 3 in SVOU, but it's not on the same level as Zamazenta and Dragonite, with matchups like Rillaboom and Hatterene being very popular right now, and those are quite rough for Tinglu. Hatterene in particular, since it 1v1s Tinglu with Pain Split, which is really bad for teams whose win con is to get hazards up. Now, some players have adapted to this, with Tinglu sometimes running Heavy Slam or being paired with Goldango to form the classic Gold plus Tinglu core to prevent Hat from healing up with Pain Split. So, Tinglu is still one of the best mons in the tier, but now this video I uploaded in February is outdated. Fuck! We have 4 drops from A+ to A tier: Deoxys Speed, Dragapult, Iron Valiant, and for the second time this year, Landorus. Deoxys Speed dropping is both odd and also expected. It's odd because screens and offense are really good right now, but also the amount of Hatterene that has been spammed throughout the fall limit the amount of sets it could viably run. Nasty Plot sets face competition with other special breakers who don't come anywhere close to being a speed demon like Deoxys, but have easier setup opportunities and don't rely on focus miss as much. But again, screens is its current bread and butter. It is the best screen setter in the tier with fast taunt and a billion moves to run on its 4th slot. As a member of the VR Council, I didn't support the dropping of Dragapult, but I understand why it dropped. The rise of AV Torn and Heatran has been troublesome for Dragapult. With more speed control options being considered, Dragapult's niche is not as high in demand as it was in past metas. But cheese in the form of screens is trending right now, and Dragapult is still one of the best Pokemon at owning the archetype. Not just because of its top tier 142 speed, but also having Infiltrator. The Dragapult switch-ins on offense are like Tinglu, Kingambit, Darkrai, and Goltris. The latter two get destroyed by Dragon Stab, and Tinglu, Kingambit are ruined by Will-O-Wisp. Even if you don't have Wisp, just click U-turn. It's not hard. If you told me a year ago that Valiant in 2025 is A tier and not A+ tier, I'd assumed you've never played a game of SVOU in your life. But truth be told, this is the most Valiant has struggled all generation. Most teams have checks to Valiant that overlap with each other, so Iron Valiant can break past the Pecharunt with Calm Mind Terra Ghost Shadow Ball, but not the Heatran in the back. Pokemon like Surledge and Rillaboom have risen, which exploit its fragility, but Valiant is really good still. It is the best Encore user in the game, and that is very much needed against screens, or just in general. I think Destiny Bond should be used more, since Valiant can get one kill and then trade with another Pokemon. especially since Pokemon like Pecharunt are major roadblocks for certain threats. Just like last time, Landorus dropped due to shifts favoring other ground types over Landorus on offense. This time, people are preferring the spinning utility of Great Tusk and Iron Treads to enable Assault Vest Torn, Kyurem, and Surledge. Landorus obviously still does Landorus things, so expect it to make some sort of comeback into A+ tier. Again. Now to explain why Galarian Wheezing dropped to A-. Up next, Iron Moth, dropping from A- to B+ tier. You guys know me, I'm Iron Moth's biggest hater. Speed Booster Moth is so fraudulent. In every game, there's always something on the opponent's team that hardwalls it. Because you can only use like half of its special attack in order for booster energy to increase speed. So most things can just eat a hit from Iron Moth. At +2, it's not even guaranteed to one-shot Landorus after rocks. Defensive Goldango survives a hit after a layer of spikes. Even versus offense, Moth isn't that great, because Moth is weak as shit. Because offense has stuff like Glimwood or Dragonite that stops Moth from doing much. And Iron Moth's niche of being a Fairy Resist and a T-Spike Absorber? Yeah, most people use Glimwood, and Glimwood makes most Iron Moth variants dead weight. If you want to use the good Iron Moth sets, use that 140 special attack, booster special attack, choice specs under sun, 2-shot Tinglu with Terrafire Fiery Dance. The sooner you drop that speed booster garbage, the sooner you unlock Iron Moth's true potential. Putting the Mothslander off to the side, we have 3 drops to B tier, Alola Ninetales, Sinnoh, and Tinkaton. With players preferring Deoxys as a screen sitter, Alola Ninetales has faded into its shadow. Deoxys is less passive and can roll compress taunt or hazards on top of setting screens. Alola Tails does have Encore, so it's not completely outclassed by Deoxys. Sinnoh has been competing with Pecharunt and Goldango for its role as a spin blocker. This is a problem when these two are so good right now. It's also very exploitable by Pokemon like Kyurem, Darkrai, and Heatran. It does have some neat things going for it. Sinnoh has the best matchup into Tusk and Treads out of any spin blocker in OU, and it also has the best Garganacl matchup and can beat non-knockoff Wellspring, but it's not enough for it to be in B+. Tinkaton has kind of been struggling to compete with other hazard setters and other steel types. It's good at getting rocks up, but not keeping them up. Tinkaton is good into some noteworthy matchups like Hatterene and can semi-check Kyurem, so maybe it'll find a way to becoming meta-relevant again. Up next, Keldeo, Manaphy, and Okidoki dropped from B to B- tier. The menace sucks for Keldeo. Boots feels awfully weak, Specs is easy to pivot around for most teams. Versus offense, a lot of things can sit up on Keldeo after it claims a kill, due to how much of the tier resists its stabs. Also, I picked a horrible time to record, I kinda thought that classes would be over at this time. Screens is really good right now, but Manaphy is having trouble slotting into screens because competition is fierce. Stuff like Goltris and Raging Bolt provide more defensive utility on top of breaking holes. Manaphy doesn't really have defensive utility, so it often gets left out. Now, Okidoki dropping is just sad. As you all might know, I'm the one who brought Okidoki into the limelight, the original founder of Okidoki Nation. I saw that this thing had Guard Dog and checked both Zamazenta as well as Darkrai before it was cool. Fast forward to now, and Okidoki is chilling in the B ranks. I would argue Okidoki is actually better now. Tealpon, Rillaboom, Tyranitar, and even Samurott, believe it or not, are trending matchups that Okidoki does very well against. It's also still good at trading with offense and also beating Zamazenta plus Darkrai. Descending into C+ tier, we have Greninja, Iron Boulder, and Pelipper. Greninja is outclassed by a lot of shit in the meta, unfortunately. It almost never sees play in tournaments, and it really hates that Rillaboom and Avitorn are real Pokemon again. Iron Boulder had like one moment where it 6-0'd a team in a major tournament, and then it was never seen again. Overly Terra reliant, dies to every priority in the game, besides like Dragonite E-Speed, and it hits like a wet fucking noodle. Now you need shitty ass Senate Butt, cause otherwise Pecharunt and Zamazenta wall you forever, so it misses out on either Earthquake or Close Combat. Barraskewda was ranked in C+ tier, while Pelipper stayed. I do not know why, cause Pelipper and Barraskewda are never meant to be separated. They've been a couple since Gen 8. Rain sees a bit of ladder usage, but in tournaments, you'll only see like one person bring Rain. Next up, Enamorous Therian and Hydreigon, dropping from C+ to C tier. Enamorous T is competing with a bunch of fairies in its role on offense. On Trick Room teams, it's competing with Volcanion. It does have a ground immunity, but you'd only build with it if your team is missing those specific checkmarks. Sorry guys, I couldn't save Hydreigon. It's hard to compete with the amount of Nasty Plot Breakers who are not only faster, but some of them like Tornadus, Hydrapple, and Goltris have defensive utility. There's also Latios, who is a faster, stronger version of Hydreigon, who also has access to recovery. Going from C to C- tier, we have Chansey and Iron Jugulus. Chansey rarely saw usage since OLT of last year. Knockoff is really common, and it's difficult to find a team that Chansey can fit on over Blissey. It's just competing with a lot with Goltris, Tornadus, and other fast special threats on offense. Taunt Knockoff is nice on hazard stack, but modern balances and stalls tend to have stronger hazard removal. Wrapping things up, we have Necrozma dropping out of the viability rankings.
Yo, Necrozma.
Huh?
What do you actually do around here, man? No, I'm not being funny right now, man. Like, what do you do in this metagame? Can you name one thing? What do you do around here? Name one thing. Why did they hire you in the first place, man? Oh, you quit? You can't quit, cause you're unranked! Get out! Get out!
And that was all the changes. What are your thoughts? Are you happy about the new changes? Or do you feel like we need to serve justice to the Okidoki Nation? Also, who do you want to see rise or drop in the viability rankings? Feel free to post your nominations in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching, and remember, Thou shall destroy Big Stall.